Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Councilor Vido.
Present.
Councilor Lopez. Present. Councilor Rodriguez. Councilor Brown. Here. Councilor Bishop. Present. Councilor Tejada. Present. Councilor Avellaneda. Present. Councilor Robinson. Here. Councilor Perlatonda. Here. Councilor Garcia.
Present.
Councilor Ray Recupero. 10 members present, 1 absent. First order under new business resolutions. We have a resolution introduced by Councilor Vido and all members of the City Council. Whereas Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an American Baptist and activist who became a spokesperson and leader in the civil rights movement, and whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a man of courage who advocated for racial equality through nonviolent resistance, and whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. dedicated his life in pursuit of justice and unity amongst all Americans until his assassination in 1968. And whereas Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service is celebrated each year on the third Monday of January to support and promote service and civic engagement to commemorate the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And whereas the People's AME Church Planning Committee has invited Reverend Basil Yardi to be a keynote speaker in collaboration with various groups in the community of Chelsea, such as CHS Reach, Chelsea Public Schools, Chelsea Black Community, CHS Interact Club, Chelsea City Council, Chelsea Interfaith Alliance. And whereas under the People's AME Church, the Youth and Young Adult Coalition's Homeless Initiative, Project Opening Doors, along with the support of the Rotary Club and Celia Ministries, Light of Christ Church, have united to support the homeless community in Chelsea. Now therefore be it resolved that we, the members of the Chelsea City Council, on behalf of the citizens of Chelsea, hereby recognize the efforts of all involved under the leadership of the People's AME Church and the Chelsea community in exemplifying true leadership and representing Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s vision of unity and beloved community.
Chair recognizes Councilor Brown.
Roll call.
Anybody want to speak on it? Chair recognizes Councilor Brown.
I want to thank the President for putting this order in for Dr. Reverend Whitley. She's been dedicating herself here since she's been here with the MLK event, not only dedicating herself to the service of others here in the city of Chelsea, but also to keep Dr. King's dream alive. She's worked with numbers of organizations, highlighted a number of issues here with the celebration. Not only is it a day that we celebrate Dr. King, but it's also a day that we celebrate our community and unity. And it's because of her dedication we have not only been able to do it since she's been here under her leadership, but she continued to get other folks involved with the youth, with the high schools, with the middle schools, with the school committee members. So it's great to have you here. We thank you for your service. We know you're not a resident of Chelsea, but you're here so much, it seems though you're a resident of Chelsea, and we want to really thank you for the work that you do for Dr. King's celebration. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak on it? Permission to speak from the chair?
We got a roll call coming up.
Okay, and then we have a roll call coming up. I just want to acknowledge Reverend Whitley, Sandra Whitley, for the work that she's done. Every single year I go over there and I see the community coming together, people from all walks of life, just celebrating the legacy of an amazing activist and leader in this country, all over the world. And it's so nice. The thing that I love about Chelsea, it's just the diversity, and to see people just coming together and really just putting all your differences aside. You know, you see people from different organizations and businesses and schools and age, and it really is just beautiful. And I know that Reverend Sandra Whitley works very hard at making sure this happens every year, so I just wanted to thank you for celebrating Martin Luther King's legacy and our beloved community.
Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Bishop? Yes. Councilor Tejada? Yes. Councilor Avellaneda?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Pilatanda? Yes. Councilor Garcia?
Yes.
And Councilor Recupero? 11 members in favor, none opposed. Motion adopted. You want to suspend the rules to give it?
Yeah, I'd like to suspend the rules just for a couple minutes just to present Reverend Whitley with the resolution.
Okay, next resolution, introduced by Councilor Robinson, all members of the City Council. Whereas the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a leader of great courage and skill who became known as a drum major of the American Civil Rights Movement to enfranchise black citizens. And whereas Dr. King's life was tragically cut short by an assassin's bullet in April of 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee, while he was there to champion the cause of underprivileged workers. Whereas due to the efforts of many dedicated people who believe Dr. King deserves national recognition, the third Monday in January is nationally recognized as the day to remember Dr. King, his legacy, and the causes for which he so gallantly fought and died. And whereas Massachusetts had the privilege of Dr. King's presence when he lived and studied in Boston at Boston University School of Divinity, receiving his Ph.D. in 1953. And whereas Dr. King's life will always shine as a light for those without hope and as an example to be emulated by all who care about their fellow human beings, regardless of race, religion, class, or nationality. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Chelsea City Council hereby recognize January 15, 2018 as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day in the city of Chelsea and ask all citizens to reflect upon the significance of this extraordinary man's life.
Chair recognizes Councilor Robinson. Seeing none, would you like to speak on it, or?
No.
No, okay, thank you. Next order of business.
The next order of business, public speaking, Madam Chairman.
Public speaking. Please state your name and address for the record.
So good evening, and thank you, City Council members and our President, Councilor Damali Vidal, and for presenting the City Council resolution to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Planning Committee and the Youth and Young Adult Coalition. And thank you, Councilor Vice President Calvin Brown, and all of those who are present. My name is Reverend Dr. Sandra Whitley, and I am the pastor of People's AME Church, while our worship site is located at 28 Bellingham Street in Chelsea, Mass. However, I do sleep in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. It was 10 years ago that I was appointed by Bishop Richard Norris of the AME Church to pastor People's AME Church here in Chelsea. Then former City Manager Jay Ash and along with City Solicitor Cheryl Watson, transferred the planning of the annual citywide Dr. Martin Luther King Day event to People's AME Church, where we have annually celebrated the national holiday by honoring the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King on the third Monday of January every year. Dr. King had a dream and a vision for a beloved community. The beloved community unifies people in churches and communities with the strength to love and build genuine relationships. In a beloved community, solidarity and trust are grounded in profound commitment to a shared vision. Every year, everyone is their brother and sister's keeper. It is a family affair. So I believe that Chelsea is a beloved community. Chelsea is a wonderful community reflecting the world in one city. And it is evident that very special people live, work, and worship here in Chelsea. The diversity, the ethnicity, and unique cultures are amazing, with over 55 nations represented and 38 different languages spoken. So I was born in Montgomery, Alabama, and at the time, Rosa Parks boldly took a stand for what was right. I have traveled to many countries around the world and have discovered in the midst of diversity, people fail to get along because people fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. And they don't know each other because they don't even communicate with each other. But yet, I do believe, as we, Chelsea, continue learning more about each other, taking chances to get to know one another, talking to others we do not know, and doing random acts of kindness will even more so break down the barriers. So we, the committee, we have read the various thoughtful essays over the years that were written by the students based on various themes. This year was the theme, I Have a Dream. They offered solutions such as treating each other with respect, stop bullying one another, clean up ourselves by the environment, and stop the violence. And even with our Spirit Award winners and our young adult achievers, they are ones who are making an impact in the community. So I do believe, and as we have gathered, and thank you again for those comments, I believe that we are in, as Chelsea, and I say Chelsea because it just feels like home, the best is still yet to come. Dr. King had a dream, and he says, no person has the right to reign on your dreams. So I want to personally thank the Chelsea community, because the day would not have been a success without those who comprise the planning committee, such as the superintendent, Dr. Borg, Jerry McHugh, and Michelle Sodergren, the Chelsea Multicultural Group led by B. Cravata and Salma Taylor, the Chelsea Black Community, President Joan and Henry Wilson and Ron Robinson and members, the Chelsea Girl Scouts, the Chelsea Public Schools, the REACH students and Miss Linda Robinson, the Youth and the Young Adult Coalition with President Evan and Ben and Valerie and Brian and Bobby and Charlie and Jenny and Tanya and Marina and Michael, and all of the state and elected city officials. So the People's AME Church also, with Nicole, Deborah, and Beverly, and none other than our people, for the people, city manager, Tom Ambrosino. The teamwork makes the dream work. So again, to all our city council members, Madam President, and city manager, we thank you for your time and your donations, your support, and annual attendance at the Martin Luther King Day. And lastly, we want to continue to recognize the efforts of the beloved community for you knowing and acknowledging us this evening with this resolution. So we want to continue to have our prayers, and may God continue to bless you, this beloved community. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Anybody else for public speaking? Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Bobby Pereira, and I live at 88 Garish Avenue, right here in Chelsea. I would just like to come up and commend Reverend Whitley. I first met her MLK Day a couple of years ago, and I brought some donations afterwards, and I learned about the YYAC and some amazing young people like Brian, Jennifer, and Charlie, who you've seen up here a few times. I saw him a few times on the school committee as well. And, there's lessons you learn from people in life, and Reverend Whitley is one of those people that you inherently will learn from. And I've learned that, you know, it takes time to build a community. It's not about like one event a year or anything like that. It's time and patience and work and meetings, and you know, it takes a continual effort. And thank you for that, because you've given a continual effort to the city of Chelsea, and I hope that later on in life, I, as well as many others, can, you know, learn to do that too. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public speaking is closed. Next order of business. Approval of
Next order of
minutes.
business, approval of the special minutes, City Council, January 2nd, and a regular meeting, January 8th.
Chair recognizes Councilor Bishop
Those 2 meetings
under
under
suspension.
suspension.
Thank you. Communications from the city manager.
Communications from the city manager. The first communication. Free cash request. Dear councilors, I am writing to request city council approval for 7 appropriations, all aimed at providing improved services and benefits to our residents. Each request is described in detail below. The total amount requested is $142,744. Funding is available from recently certified free cash. Improved Broadway lighting, $50,000. I would like to continue the city's recent efforts to significantly improve the, what's the matter?
Chair recognizes Councilor Bishop.
Madam Chairman, I move to waive the reading and refer this communication along with the attached orders to the Subcommittee on Finance. And if I might just say a word.
You have the floor.
The Committee on Finance has not met on these issues, and I would like for them to have a chance to sit down and talk about them before they're put before the City Council. I don't know what the past practice was. I guess it was that the city manager would write a letter and automatically orders go in before the City Council. The first I heard of these orders is when I got my packet on Friday, and I don't think that's the right way to handle things. I think that the Committee on Finance should be notified ahead of time if possible. If not, we're going to have a meeting, a subcommittee meeting before every City Council meeting so that we can discuss whatever is coming up, and I think maybe that's what we're going to have to do. And I spoke with the chairperson ahead of this meeting and suggested that we may have to do just that. I am a little alarmed by the rapid spending of the free cash, and to someone who is not involved in city government, it might look like, what are they doing? You know, it's an awful lot of free cash money being spent. We started, according to the report I got from the city manager, the year with almost $40 million in reserve money. And in 1 year's time, we had spent it down to $33 million. Now, if we were to continue spending like that, we're not going to have a reserve within 3 years. I'm concerned about that. I'm alarmed about it. And I want a chance to talk with the Subcommittee on Finance about it and talk with the city manager about it as well. So I'm moving these communications and the order to the Subcommittee on Finance.
Under suspension.
Yep.
See no objections?
Okay. The next communication from the city manager, new park vote. Dear councilors, you may recall that just before Christmas, the city council approved the appropriation of $400,000 for the improvements.
Oh, Chair recognizes Councilor Bishop.
The reading, and I'm sure the city councils are familiar with this. It's a redo of an order that they did last year. The wrong number was put in for the account that it was being taken from, and that needs to be corrected. This amount of money, this $400,000, is totally reimbursable once the project is completed. So I'm not alarmed about that, as long as we're going to get all the money back. So I move that this be late, accept and file a communication and laid on the table pending an order.
Oh, thank you. So moved.
Okay, that's communications from the city manager.
Yep.
Yeah.
New business.
Now move on to new business. First order under new business, order introduced by Councilor Recupero. Be it hereby adopted as policy of the City Council the following. The City Council will not vote to affirm the appointment of an individual to a multi-member board pursuant to Section 4.2 of the Charter. If that individual has already served 2 consecutive terms and there are other residents willing to fill the vacancy. If there's no one willing to fill the vacancy, then the board member will be affirmed for a new term.
Chair recognizes Councilor Recupero.
For a very long time,
What's the motion?
the motion is to adopt under suspension or with a roll call vote.
What?
Wait.
To adopt under suspension, if there's no objections.
Give roll call.
So we'll adopt with a roll call vote.
Would you like to finish speaking on it?
For many years, they always said about the committee staying on it for a very extended period of time. They get appointed for 2 terms or more, which is 3 years. So that's 6 years. And if nobody applies, they can stay on the board. That's how it's written, that if nobody applies, but if somebody applies, they should have an equal opportunity to go on those boards, instead of people staying on them for 20 years at a time. It's a good thing to have diversity. And it's a good thing for anybody in the city that wants to apply for these things. They should want to, and they should be able to. It shouldn't be ended by anyone or anything for them to go there. So this will give them all an opportunity, or anybody that wants to apply. If nobody applies, nothing goes of it. The people stay on the board. So it's the fairest way to fix everything. Because I don't know no other way, because they say nobody applies. So if nobody applies, they'll stay. If somebody applies, they should have an opportunity. That's why I'm putting this order forth.
Anybody else want to speak on it? So we'll move it to a roll call. Oh, I'm sorry. Chair recognizes Councilor Avellaneda.
Thank you. I'm going to vote no, and I want to make sure that I state my reasons why and not just vote in without letting the public or my colleagues understand the reasoning behind. First off, I think that in order to create a policy, usually you have some sort of issues or a problem or data to back up the implementation of a policy. And I was not provided with any sort of data tonight by the maker of the motion to suggest why we need to have this in place. Like many of you, we are very well engaged in the community. We interact with residents. We go to board hearings and such. And we try to get people to volunteer their time. And I haven't heard from individuals, nor here nor in the street or at meetings or anywhere, that they had an interest in the board and that they were rejected. That there are individuals out there, residents of our community, who feel that they've submitted their resume to the city manager or such, and they're not being put on boards, that there's some sort of backlog that we're not serving. I haven't heard that from anyone yet. I've yet to hear that. And if that was the case, that would say, well, maybe we need to try to engage people. I've stated before on this issue that I've spent a great amount of time trying to get people to go, and I've suggested or nominated people to the 3 city managers that have been here, Sandegate, Ash, and Tom, to, as soon as I find someone who's interested in serving the board, to take a look and get them involved. Rarely have they've not found a place on one of the boards to serve. So again, it's and it's been diverse. And I'm not afraid to say that as a Latino, that I've tried to increase the number of Latinos that serve on the board, just to have that diversity. So I haven't had that problem. So I don't know why this is being put in front of us to suggest that there is a problem. Second, I am very leery of anything that takes the discretionary power out of the hands of this council or any future council. This takes the vote out from our hands, the discretion of any appointee or anyone from us, and we are no longer part of the decision-making process. Why wouldn't I want to have discretionary power on saying that there may be a member of the board whose background and experience and whose voting history has been great, and that I wouldn't want to see them leave the board? Why not? Unless, of course, I mean, if there is someone better, then I would think that the city manager would put something or transition. So I don't like it when the votes are taken. We have limited power as it stands, and I don't like the idea of taking that power, discretionary power, away from us. And lastly, and I think it's most important, is we are the highest elected board in the city, and it smells of hypocrisy that we don't implement the very same standard on ourselves that we are asking our board members to take. First, if you want to have this 6-year rule, then why don't you change the charter so that no counselor can serve for 6 years? When you do that, then I say you go down the line to the rest of the boards and say you shouldn't serve. There are members on this council who have been here 6 years or longer, and if you don't want to, if you really want term limits, then put it also for us first. Be the example versus doing this. That's the biggest vote for me. I wouldn't want to put a standard that I myself wouldn't want to follow. And if the maker wants to put that example on and say, let's have term limits first for city councilors,
1 minute.
then go right ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Madam President. I agree with some of my council member at large has stated. Again, I would like to just stress a little further how the charter acts. That's what the charter states to us, that the city manager bring positions before us, appointees before us. We can even affirm them, or we could in the favor of yes or no. And I believe when we are making a decision tonight to change that policy, you're actually making a decision tonight to somewhat cross over into the charter, which we should really take into higher consideration, just getting this document tonight and making a vote on it. I would ask the maker of the motion if he would withdraw his motion and send it to a subcommittee, a conference, where not only myself and new council members can get a chance to look at this. I believe this issue came up on the last council member, the last council back in 2017 or 2016. I think I read something about the paper and it was somewhat heated. But I think if we are going to change something, and I realize that this is a major change here, that we're now saying to the city manager, the charter states that you bring board members before the city council that you have deemed to be qualified, deemed to be folks of interest that are willing to serve these boards, and for us to approve them. This takes that responsibility away from the city council, because if someone has served for 6 years, and if someone just say, hey, by the way, I know that, Alvin Casey is finishing up his 6 years, I'm just going to apply because I know now the procedure is that I have to be looked at, and if it's not another person, I would have to take his position. And again, as my counsel has stated, he states that all this expertise and all this dedication this person may offer, we may not have the same qualifications in the person because of the procedure that we are adopting to allow him or her to serve. It's really something that we really should take into consideration. If the charter states one thing, we should look at the charter also. And the charter, from my understanding, states that the city manager make appointments to boards, and he brings them before the city councilor, and we vote either yes or no to affirm those appointments. This here, I believe, takes some of that responsibility away, because at the end of 6 years, if someone has served on the license board, the planning board, and there's there's two candidates that's out there, then that person doesn't have that opportunity to continue to serve, even if the city manager wants that person to serve. So I would ask the council, as folks speak, if he would consider withdrawing this, send it into a study, and also, if not, it's off the table for the rest of the year. If not, if you have the votes, you may go forward. Thank you, Madam President.
Chair recognizes Councilor Tejada.
I want to speak on the motion before he makes an amendment.
Oh, okay, hang on one second. Then Councilor Robinson.
I can't support this measure. Through the years, the city manager has brought people forth who felt should be serving on these boards. I asked my colleague when he presented this resolution, I'll ask the rest of my councilors, do you have about 10 people right now that are looking to get on boards? I couldn't get an answer. So therefore, the way that it's working, I believe, is fine, and we don't need to do anything to disrupt this policy. So therefore, I will not support this effort.
Chair recognizes Councilor Tejada.
Madam President, I'd like to amend it to send it to subcommittee under roll call.
Do you want?
May I speak on it?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
before. Under
So
suspension.
there seems to be a subject matter that has come up a few times now. And in fact, one of the last kind of bouts that happened here was a discussion on how we were marketing to reach out and to the general public, because it is tough to fill a board. I mean, they are volunteers and they're volunteering their time. So it seems to be that there's enough interest in the subject matter that maybe if we all get together on the subcommittee and discuss it further, we could kill it or we could come up with something that benefits everybody. I am sort of fine with the way the system is at the moment, but there's nothing to say that there isn't a way to improve the system. So for that reason, I think that it has enough shout in it to merit further discussion. Thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak on it? Chair recognizes Councilor Pilatonda.
It's not something I'm speaking on, but I'm just a little confused myself. I was told before we had this meeting tonight that it has nothing to do with the charter, that it's only a policy change. So if somebody can clarify that for me, I'd appreciate that.
How about we suspend the rules and have the city solicitor come up and clarify it one last time?
Well, I'm a little confused because I thought we were motioning to go to subcommittee to discuss it. But what was said to you is not that it had nothing to do with the charter, to clarify. What was said to you was that the policy is trying to get city councilors to act a certain way when they have to act on something that says they act in the charter. That's what the policy is doing. It's not saying you don't act, it just says that you don't, it's controlling you on how to act amongst yourselves. It's a policy or a practice to do this. That's what was presented before you. So it's not in violation of the city charter at all.
Okay.
So it's not that it has nothing to do with the charter. That's incorrect to phrase what I've said. It's a way on how the councilors should act when they are enforcing the charter and when they have something presented to them by the city manager.
Do you have a question? No? Does that answer you? Okay, thank you. All right, so the motion on the floor right now is
Roll call to send it to conference.
to send it to conference.
Yes vote would send it to conference. Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
No.
Councilor Brown?
No.
Councilor Bishop?
Yes.
Councilor Tejada?
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda? No. Councilor Robinson?
No.
Councilor Pilatonda? Yes. Councilor Garcia?
Yes.
Councilor Recupero? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 votes in favor to send it to conference. 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed. The motion goes to conference. The next order under new business, order introduced by Councilor Robinson, request that the city manager provide the following information from all nonprofits who have contracts with the city: administration, program support, all operating expenses, and clients served.
Chair recognizes Councilor Robinson.
Yes, I'd ask for a roll call on this matter, but I'd like to make an amendment where it says administration to add the word cost.
Administration costs.
Yes. And just briefly that, we're providing funds for the various nonprofits, and I think that we should have some sort of idea as to what monies are going to them, what program support, and what their operating expenses are, and how many clients are they serving, so we can have a very good idea as to we're spending our money worthwhile.
Okay. All right, clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez? Yes. Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Bishop? Yes. Councilor Tahada?
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Pilatanda?
Yes.
Councilor Garcia? And Councilor Recupero? 11 in favor, none opposed, motion adopted. Next order introduced by Councilor Lopez, request that the city manager instruct DPW to post 3 no littering signs on Central Ave between Shawmut and Lynn Street on the cemetery side, between East Point Nursing Home, 255 Central Ave and 265 Central Murray Electric, and between Chelsea Housing and 270 Central Chelsea Garage.
Chair recognizes Councilor Lopez.
Adopting of the suspension, if there's no objection, I would like to speak on it, please.
Sure. You have the floor, Councilor.
I got some complaints that right near the cemetery side, people been littering there when they park there. They just throw trash there, and then between Chelsea Housing and 270 Central, people are doing the same, and near East Point and the electrical Central Murray Electric. So I would like to see if DPW will install some not littering signs, so maybe people will understand that we really care about our cleanliness in our city. Thank you.
Oh, Chair recognizes Councilor Pilatanda.
Yeah, I have no problem with my fellow councilor asking the city manager to put up no litter signs, but I think we should put them throughout the city because there's litter everywhere. And the only thing that I'm concerned about is what will a sign say? I mean, will they say, there's going to be a $500 fine on them? Are they going to be enforced by the police department? Or is it just going to be a sign put up saying, don't throw your trash here and nothing's going to be done about it? And then if we are deciding to do it for the whole city, what will the cost be to the city council for that? Thank you.
All set?
All set?
All orders pertaining to the request on the city manager's communication were referred to Subcommittee on Finance. 11I has been signed by Councilor Bishop, Chairman of Finance, ordered that the Chelsea City Council authorize the appropriation of $400,000 from General Stabilization Account Fund 7020 to provide for the balance of the full amount, $575,000 of the O'Neill Playground project. It hereby directs that this appropriation replaces the operating stabilization appropriation contained in the O'Neill Playground order dated December 4th, 2017.
Chair recognizes Councilor Bob Bishop.
Thank you, Madam President. I move roll call
Roll call.
on the order.
Okay.
And as I stated earlier, this is a redo of the order from December of 17. The wrong
It doesn't require a second.
appropriation number was used in that order, and this is correcting that error. This money is totally reimbursable once the project is completed, and I move roll call.
A yes would be to approve. Councilor Vido?
Yes.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes.
Councilor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Councilor Bishop? Yes. Councilor Tahada?
Yes.
Councilor Avellaneda?
Yes.
Councilor Robinson?
Yes.
Councilor Pilatanda?
Yes.
Councilor Garcia?
Yes.
Councilor Recupero? 11 in favor, none opposed, motion adopted. Next order introduced by Councilor Robinson, request that the subcommittee and conference be held on February 6th, 2018 at 6 p.m. to discuss the Chelsea Youth and Community Center with Chelsea's own John Quiet Mamarez and Moxie Giblin and longtime manager Anthony Cardinelli.
Chair recognizes Councilor Robinson.
Adopt this unanimously under suspension.
If there are no objections.
There's no objections. And just briefly, this could be a great opportunity for our community to establish a community center, which this council feels that is very important to our community. This would establish a partnership which is important to our community, but most of all, bring positive role models to our community that can only benefit our community.
Talk to you about that. Okay. Anybody else wish to speak on it? No.
Order co-sponsored by Councilor Vido and Councilor Lopez. Ordered that a subcommittee and conference be scheduled to discuss the expansion of recycling across the city.
Chair recognizes Councilor Lopez.
Yes, I would like to send it to a subcommittee and conference, and I would like to speak on it
There
a
are
little
no
bit.
objections.
Suspension, yeah.
Seeing none, go ahead.
Yes, it's been a while that we've been trying to get recycle bins for the whole city. A lot of people have been asking about the recycle bins, and I think this is time that we really take this really serious and provide these recycle bins to everybody in the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was suspended. We have a late order introduced by Councilor Vido.
Have a late order. Any objections to the late order?
I'll read it. Order introduced by Councilor Vido. Order that a subcommittee and conference be scheduled to finalize council priorities for 2018.
Chair recognizes Councilor Lopez.
Adopted under suspension, if there's no objection.
Seeing none.
That's it, Madam Chairman.
Public announcements, anybody? Councilor Avellaneda?
Reminder that MassDOT will be here this Wednesday at 6 p.m., and this is to discuss the Tobin Bridge and the Route 1 viaduct viaduct project. I understand there's a lot of concern by residents in the city of Chelsea regarding the project, particularly the closing of the 5th Street on-ramp. I encourage the residents to please show up this Wednesday at 6 p.m. here at City Hall in these council chambers.
Councilor Lopez?
Yes, tomorrow we have at 6 p.m. we have a subcommittee regarding plastic bags, ban plastic bags in the city. So please, we invited everybody so you can come and give up your opinion. I think plastic bags is part of issue that we have on littering in our city. So please come on tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Any moments of silence? I'd like to have a moment of silence for the gentleman that was found in the river in Chelsea. Although we don't know his identity, Seeing no further business, we are adjourned.